The room was already loud when the man stepped forward, his fists clenched, his breathing uneven. People shifted in their seats. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else whispered a warning. The man's voice cut through the air sharp, wounded. Burning with something deeper than anger, wasn't asking for attention. He was demanding to be seen. Bruce Lee did not move. He stood still, eyes steady, posture relaxed, as if the noise around him could not reach his center. The space between them felt dangerously thin. Every instinct in the room expected impact words that would escalate, pride that would collide. But what followed was not an exchange of force. It was a moment that slowed time, a choice made in silence, and an outcome that left even the angriest heart unsure of what it had been fighting. The noise breaks. Suddenly a chair scrapes back. A body shifts forward. The man steps into the open. Space with the force of someone who has waited too long to be ignored. His shoulders are tight, his jaw locked, his eyes fixed on one person only. The conversation in the room collapses into fragments. Someone murmurs a name. Someone else straightens, sensing trouble before it arrives. He does not shout at first. His voice is low, unsteady, pulled from a place beneath his chest. It carries across the room anyway. There is accusation in it. There is hunger. The kind that does not want an answer, it wants release. People glance toward Bruce Lee. He stands where he has been standing, hands loose at his sides, breathing slow. His face shows no alarm, no challenge, only attention. He looks at the man the way one looks at a fact that must be understood, not corrected. The man steps closer, too close. The space between them tightens, charged with expectation. This is the distance where reputations are tested, where stories are born and retold with exaggeration. The room leans forward as one body. Everyone knows what should happen. Next, everyone thinks they know what will happen next. The man's words finally spill out faster now. Broken sentences. A grievance sharpened by repetition. His hands shake not with fear, but with effort, as if holding himself together requires constant force. He is not performing. He is unraveling in public. Bruce Lee does not interrupt. The silence around them grows heavier than the man's voice. It presses against the walls. Even the man seems to feel it, because he stops speaking mid-thought, chest rising sharply as he waits for dismissal. For correction, for impact, Bruce Lee lifts his eyes fully then. Not upward, not downward. Straight. Ahead, in that instant, the room understands something without being able to name it. This is not a contest. This is a moment that will go one way or another, nothing in between. The pause stretches. No one breathes. The room itself seems to come into focus. It is not large, but it feels crowded now, filled with people who did not expect to be part of something memorable. Chairs are arranged without care. Few coats hang over the backs. Light spills in from one side, catching dust in the air. Ordinary details suddenly sharp. This is where things either settle, quietly, or fracture. Bruce Lee stands at the center of it, though he has not placed himself there. Tension has moved to him on its own. He does not claim the space. He simply occupies it without tension, as if the ground beneath him is familiar. His presence does not push outward. It holds the man across from him, feels the weight of that attention. He shifts his stance, unsure whether to advance or retreat. His anger has drawn him forward, but now the stillness presses back. The people behind him form an invisible wall. There is no private exit from this moment. No one speaks. A few faces carry excitement, thinly disguised. Others look uneasy, already imagining consequences. Someone near the back folds their arms, as if bracing. Another lowers their eyes, unwilling to witness what they believe is coming. Bruce Lee's gaze does not wander. He is not measuring the man's size. He is not calculating distance. His focus is narrower, quieter. He watches the man's breathing, the tension in his neck, the way his hands open and close without purpose. The man notices this and mistakes it for judgment. His shoulders rise. His voice returns, louder now, defensive. He explains himself without being asked. Each word stacks on the next building. A structure that cannot stand for long. The room tightens again. This is not about challenge alone. It is about expectation. Everyone here has brought something with them, beliefs about strength. Pride. What respect looks like when it is demanded instead of earned. The man is carrying the heaviest load of all, the need for something to break, so the pressure inside him can escape. Bruce Lee remains where he is. He does not correct the man's assumptions, does not clarify his own position. By refusing to shape the moment too quickly, he allows it to reveal itself, and slowly, beneath the noise, something else becomes clear. This confrontation is not asking for victory, it is asking for acknowledgement. The man's anger does not come from nowhere, as his voice continues. Fragments begin to surface, unplanned. He speaks of effort without reward, of doors that never opened no matter how hard he pushed, of being strong in a world that only noticed strength when it could be used or feared. The words are rough, but they carry the weight of repetition. These are not new complaints. They are old ones, sharpened by time. He does not tell a story in order. He cannot. Emotion interrupts memory. Sentence about training slips into one about being dismissed. Mention of discipline turns into resentment. What he is really describing is a long distance traveled alone. The room listens differently now. People begin to recognize the shape of the man beneath the noise, not a disruptor, not a spectacle. Just someone who has learned to speak only when he can no longer stay silent. His anger has become his only proof that he exists. Bruce Lee hears this shift before anyone else does. His expression changes almost imperceptibly. The tension in his eyes softens, not with sympathy that pities, but with attention that understands. He does not nod. He does not encourage. He allows the man to continue without resistance. The man's shoulders sagged for a moment, betraying exhaustion. Rage has been holding him upright, and without it, he does not know where to stand. He fills the gap quickly, raising his voice again, clinging to the only posture that has protected him from feeling small. He speaks of being overlooked, of being judged before being known, of watching others receive recognition for things he believes he has earned. His words are not precise, but the wound behind them is. This is not a man seeking to humiliate someone greater than him. This is a man who believes he has already been humiliated by life. Bruce Lee remains silent. He does not interrupt the unraveling. He does not attempt to reshape the narrative. By doing nothing, he creates a space rare enough that the man begins to hear himself. The anger, when stripped of momentum, reveals its source. It is not hatred. It is grief unresolved, unacknowledged, disguised as force. The room shifts again. The audience no longer waits for impact. They wait for direction. All eyes return to Bruce Lee, not for what he might do, but for whether he will allow this man to remain exposed. The man takes another step forward. This time, it is deliberate. He squares his shoulders, lifting his chin, as if to remind himself who he is supposed to be in this moment. His voice sharpens, gathering what control it can. The room senses the change immediately. Whatever understanding had begun to surface is pushed aside by the need to finish what has been started. He addresses Bruce Lee directly now. The words are clearer, more pointed. He questions restraint. He challenges calm. He speaks of strength as something proven only when tested in public, under pressure, where witnesses can no longer look away. His tone is not cruel, but it is demanding. Is asking Bruce Lee to meet him where he stands. The air tightens. People shift again, caught. Between discomfort and anticipation, it's the point where silence usually breaks, where pride answers pride. Where reputations defend themselves, Bruce Lee does not step back. But he does not step forward either. He listens with the same stillness. Even as the man's words press closer, there is no flicker of irritation, no trace of dismissal. His posture remains open, balanced, as though he has already accepted the weight of the moment. The man finishes speaking and waits. The pause that follows is unbearable to some. Someone clears their throat. Someone else adjusts their seat. The man's breathing grows louder, filling the space his words have left behind. He expects a response that matches his intensity. A correction, its boundary drawn with force. Instead, Bruce Lee's gaze lowers briefly, not in submission, but in thought. That single movement changes the atmosphere. It signals that this moment is not being rushed, that the man's challenge is not being treated as a threat to be neutralized, but as something to be considered. The power in the room shifts, not toward dominance, but toward attention. The man falters. He had prepared himself for resistance, not reflection. The anger he summoned now has nowhere to land. Without opposition, it circles back toward him. His hands unclench. Stance loosens. It's uncertainty creeping into the space where certainty once stood. Bruce Lee lifts his eyes again, meeting the man's gaze fully for the first time since the challenge became explicit. There is no victory in his expression. It's only clarity. The room senses it at once. Whatever happens next will not look like the confrontation they imagined. It will require something harder than force? The silence stretches longer than anyone expects. It is not empty. It is weighted. It's a kind of pause that makes people aware of their own breathing, their own impatience. The man shifts his feet, unsettled by the lack of reaction. His anger had been a tool, something he could grip. Without it being met, it begins to slip from his control. Bruce Lee remains still. He does not rush to answer. He does not fill the space with reassurance or authority. By waiting, he allows the moment to stand. On its own, unprotected by habit or performance, the room feels exposed, as if a curtain has been pulled back on something private. The man's eyes flick briefly toward the floor, then back up. His jaw tightens again, but the effort shows now. Maintaining rage's work, demands energy. No longer has in reserve. What remains is a raw uncertainty he does not know how to carry in front of others. This pause forces a choice. If Bruce Lee responds with strength alone, the man will rise to meet it. If he dismisses him, the anger will harden into something permanent. The path forward narrows to something more precise, more difficult. Bruce Lee inhales slowly. The movement is small, almost invisible, but it signals decision. It's not a reaction and intention. Before he speaks, he looks around the room, not to seek approval, but to acknowledge the presence of others who have been drawn into this moment. Their expectations hang heavily, each one waiting to be confirmed or undone. Then he returns his attention to the man. The man braces himself. His shoulders lift. His mind prepares for impact. For words that will define him in front of witnesses. For a judgment he has already imagined and resented instead. What arrives is softer than anything he prepared for. Bruce Lee's voice, when it finally comes, is calm and measured. It carries no edge, no command. It's just enough volume to be heard. Without effort, the tone alone disrupts the pattern. The man has been following. The words themselves are few. They do not address the challenge directly. They do not defend reputation or explain philosophy. They touch something beneath the surface, something the man has been circling without naming. The room leans in, not with excitement, but with attention. The man freezes, not because he has been defeated, but because the ground he has been standing on has shifted. The anger that once felt solid now feels misplaced, as if it has been aimed at the wrong target all along. For the first time since he stepped forward, he does not know what to say next, and that uncertainty opens a door. Bruce Lee speaks. Without raising his voice, he does not begin by answering the challenge. He does not mention strength, reputation, or respect. Instead, he acknowledges the effort it takes to stand where the man is standing. It's not the effort of confrontation, but the effort of carrying so much weight for so long. His words are simple, carefully chosen. They do not diagnose the man. They do not correct him. They recognize him. The man's posture shifts as he listens. His shoulders drop slightly, as if something he has been holding tight has loosened without permission. Bruce Lee does not look away. He allows the man to feel seen without turning it into spectacle. He speaks about anger as a signal, not a failure. About how force, when used too early, often protects pain rather than resolves it. There is no lecture in his tone. No claim of authority. Only experience offered quietly, without demand. The room is still. Bruce Lee pauses between sentences, letting each one land on its own. He does not rush to fill the man's reaction. He gives him space to feel what is being said, rather than react to how it sounds. Then he says something that changes everything. He tells the man that nothing in front of everyone here needs to be proven today. That the measure the man is searching for cannot be granted by a crowd nor taken by force. He says this without looking at anyone else, as if the rest of the room has temporarily disappeared. The man's face tightens, not with anger, but with emotion he is not prepared for. His eyes flicker. His mouth opens, then closes again. The certainty he arrived with has dissolved, replaced by a recognition that is both relieving and unsettling. Bruce Lee finishes speaking and falls silent. He does not wait for applause. He does not wait for agreement. Simply stands there, open, unguarded, as if whatever comes next no longer needs his control. The man exhales sharply. A sound escapes him that is not a word. His hands drop fully to his sides. For a moment, he looks smaller, not diminished, but unburdened. The confrontation has reached its peak, not through dominance, but through clarity. And in that clarity, man understands something he did not come here to learn. He is not standing across from an opponent. He is standing across from someone who refused to let his anger define the moment. The room releases its breath. It happens slowly, unevenly, as if people are unsure whether it is safe to move again. The tension that had tightened every posture loosens, leaving behind a quiet awareness that something irreversible has occurred. No one speaks at first. Words feel unnecessary, even intrusive. The man remains where he is. He does not look at Bruce Lee immediately. His gaze drifts downward, then to the side, as if orienting himself in a space that has subtly changed. The fire that drove him forward has burned itself out, leaving warmth instead of heat. What replaces it is not shame, but recognition. Himself, and of how close he came to losing something he could not have named. When he finally looks back at Bruce Lee, his expression is different. The tension in his face is softened. His eyes no longer search for resistance. They search for understanding and find it waiting. Bruce Lee inclines his head slightly. Not in victory, not in dismissal. No, just acknowledgement. That small gesture lands with more weight than any declaration could have. It confirms that the man has not been reduced by this moment. He has been met. A few people in the room shift in their seats, uncertain how to respond to an ending that offers no spectacle. There is no applause, no murmured approval. What lingers instead is something quieter, a shared sense of having witnessed. Restraint when force would have been easier. The man takes a step back, then another. Each movement feels deliberate, chosen rather than compelled. Aloud, he does not explain himself. He does not need to. The resolution has already taken place where words cannot reach. Bruce Lee turns slightly, signaling that the moment has passed. The gathering resumes in fragments, soft conversations, cautious movement, but the atmosphere is altered. People speak more slowly. They listen longer. As the man reaches the edge of the room, he pauses. He looks back once more, not to challenge, but to remember. What he carries with him now is not defeat, nor instruction, but the experience of being received without judgment that will stay with him, and for those who witnessed it. The image will return in quieter moments, not as a lesson, but as a memory of how power can appear without raising its voice. The noise does not return. Something else has taken its place.